It's time for NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. The latest from around the Wenatchee Valley and North Central Washington with Steve Hare, and sports with Eric Granstrom.
Good evening and welcome to NCW Life Channel News. I'm Eric Granstrom filling in for Steve Hare. A few of the stories that we're following for you tonight: an update on the state budget and where the legislature stands before their deadline. Saddle Rock reopens after a facelift. We'll have an update for you on the fires throughout North Central Washington and an update on marijuana zoning regulations as commissioners continue public hearings. Later on, we'll have sports, our feature story on the oldest cherry tree in Chelan County, and the weather forecast with Dan Coons. We start our news tonight with this breaking story. Around 5 o'clock last evening, a 7-year-old boy was bit by an all-black Doberman Pinscher type dog near Lake Wenatchee. The owners of the dog stayed until the ambulance arrived to take the boy to the hospital, where he was treated for a bite wound on his leg. The Doberman was on a leash along with a German Shepherd. The boy was bitten while he ran by the dog. The mother of the boy did not get the dog owner's information, but believes that a group of them were staying at Thousand Trails Campground. Now, a call to Thousand Trails Campground, they say the dog owners may have left. Wenatchee Valley Animal Care and Control would like to verify that the dog is currently vaccinated for rabies. If you have more information, please contact them at 509-662-9577. Again, that phone number, 509-662-9577. Well, it appears a partial government shutdown may be averted as lawmakers are poised to vote on a new 2-year state budget. Today's the deadline, but there remains disagreement on some of the fine points. House Representatives Kerry Kendana and Mike Steele provided an update in an exclusive Skype interview with NCW Life Channel News Director Steve Hare.
I don't see very happy faces right now. We're nearing an agreement on the budget. You should be happy.
Yeah, we really don't know quite what's in it yet. I'll let Mike speak to the education piece, but the budget itself, we're just actually getting the printed out details this morning, and we have to vote on it this afternoon. So it is definitely a crunch. I was a little surprised we didn't work through last night. The Senate went home at 5 o'clock, which shocked all of us. We were ready to work through the night, but it is what it is.
Well, I'll tell you what.
As Kerry mentioned,
Go ahead, Mike.
As Kerry mentioned, we did get a chance to look at some of the education policy, and I think on its face, the policy is a good one. There's some incredible education reforms that you'll see in this plan, some great innovations. I was very pleased with a lot of it. However, there are some incredible taxes that are associated with this plan, which we saw coming, but didn't think we'd see them to the extent that we did. And one of the things that's been challenging for both of us is we got this briefing about 11 o'clock yesterday morning, and we've since that time been trying to go through all of the 26 plus districts that we represent in the 12th and trying to figure out exactly how this education plan is going to affect each one of them. I don't think either of us feel comfortable voting on this thing before we know exactly how each district is going to fare.
And then we were told that the information we got wasn't particularly accurate, or may not be, so they're reworking it, and we're supposed to have new charts sometime this morning. So we're in a little bit of a crunch here.
Obviously a dangerous game of brinksmanship. There's a lot at stake. First of all, there's, well, not least of which would be the 32,000 employees of the state of Washington who have received their pink slips. Partial government shutdown, it's never happened in Washington state. I mean, what are the odds at this point?
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get something passed. The question is, what is it? And what's in it? And do we have the details? I am concerned about the overall spending level. It's $5.2 billion of increase in the budget in one cycle. That's a 13+% increase. The last time we did that, it marked disaster in the outgoing years. So I'm very concerned about that level of spending. We had nearly $3 billion additional dollars without any tax increases, and now we have a $2.1 billion tax increase on the table on top of that, for a total of, again, a $5.2 billion increase in spending. I think this is a little bit extravagant.
Well, let's kind of walk through some of the talking points on that budget plan as provided to us by the Washington Policy Center. This new budget proposal includes a new assessed value state property tax that replaces the local school district M&O levies with what's called enrichment levies. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so basically what we've said as a legislature is that you can no longer use your basic levy for anything other than enrichment opportunities. The state will handle basic education as we've defined it, and anything else that you want to do in your district that will be classified as enrichment will come from that local levy. Now, keep in mind that enrichment will potentially face an audit by the state. So if you're found to be doing something with that levy that doesn't meet the enrichment criteria through that audit, you could be held liable as a district.
So it can only be used to fund basic education needs then?
That's correct. The state will be responsible for basic education as we have defined it in this new policy and reform package that we'll be passing.
And that happens from two revenue streams.
Go ahead, Kerry, I'm sorry.
A new state tax, property tax, which is at 84 or 88 cents, something around there. That is the state portion, and then also the LEA is kept intact, the levy equalization process, and money comes back through that. It is a really complex policy that took 9 weeks to put together, and frankly, from a policy standpoint, it's pretty fair. It does some great things in a reform, as Mike said, but the overall spending and the tax implications for each district are different. And for some of our districts, it's a pretty substantial tax increase, and that's our concern.
Well, I know that you're busy and you've got to get back to work. It is crunch time at this point, but frankly, gentlemen, you have a lot of constituents and voters and taxpayers in the state of Washington that are pretty much frustrated with the inability of the legislature to come to an agreement on a budget in a timely manner. And to hear that they broke up discussions last night and didn't work overnight to get this done, I think there are a lot of angered constituents out there.
Well, look, there's enough blame to go around, but as I said in an earlier interview, Mike and I are in a minority position in the House caucus. We thought we were working straight through. Frankly, all along, we've been working hard to get this process done, but we're not in a position of control. It's the House Democrats versus the Senate Republicans, and I think there's enough blame to go around with both of them. We've seen stalling on both sides. We've been the facilitators. Frankly, our caucus is the facilitator, and that education plan you're staring at right now is primarily our plan developed by our people. So I think the House Republican caucus has done a marvelous job of finding middle ground, but we're still having a hard time getting these two to sit at the table and talk.
Well, gentlemen, we wish you the best of luck in Olympia. Hopefully we can get this thing wrapped up in time for the holiday, but should we plan to bring the barbecue to Olympia for the July 4th holiday?
No, if we're still over the 4th, we won't want to be eating barbecue anyway.
A rumor is now we go home and come back after the 4th to finish the capital budget and Hearst. And of course, for our folks out here, Hearst is a big deal. And we are getting close to agreement, but I don't think it's going to happen today or tomorrow. So chances are we're not done.
My goodness. Well, time will tell. Thank you very much for joining us again. House Representatives Kerry Cadata and Mike Steele joining us on this special edition of the NCW Life Legislative Hotline. I'm Steve Hare.
Thank you much, Steve. And updates coming up, an update on fires throughout the region, and Wellness Place receives a hefty donation from the Columbia River chapter of the Harley Owners Group. I'm Eric Granstrom. You're watching NCW Life Channel News.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
Welcome back to NCW Life Channel News. I'm Eric Granstrom. A large crowd gathered for the grand opening of Wenatchee's newest park. The Saddle Rock Gateway Park is now completed and now open for picnics and, most importantly, a new trailhead into the popular Saddle Rock and Foothills trails. Several civic and community leaders spoke, including Mayor Frank Kuntz and officials with the Chelan Douglas Land Trust.
Over these 54 years I've been here, I've seen some pretty incredible transformations of things in our valley. The waterfront, when I grew up, was never a place you would want to go, and our waterfront rocks it. These hills were places where when I was in high school we'd go to drink beer to get away from our parents. And now these are places that all of our kids go and hike and enjoy, and all the schools go up, and so it's just an incredible time to watch all of these things kind of happen. you should be proud to know that a little portion of the money that you send to Olympia for taxes ends up back here time and time again to help with our outdoor recreation. That does not go without thoughtfulness from our legislators, and the RCO folks have been great to this city, and so we owe them a round of applause.
Earth is a living system. The Indians call Mother Earth because it nurtures us. It gives us everything we need to live.
Great to have that park finally open. Fire activity was a lot calmer Thursday, allowing firefighters to corral the rash of brush fires in Chelan, Douglas, and Grant counties. The weather conditions also came as a relief for property owners in the areas that were previously threatened by the Spartan and Sutherland Canyon fires. The good news today is the lowering of evacuation levels and road openings, including Palisades Road in Douglas County. 360 firefighters are currently deployed with multiple air attack resources. The Spartan fire is 60% contained. Sutherland fire 20% contained. Total acreage scorched over the past 5 days totals over 56,500 acres. No structures lost, and best of all, no injuries. Chelan County Commissioners are nearing completion on a new set of zoning regulations for the county's marijuana industry, and it may not be such good news if you're a grower. 2 years into a ban on new farms and processing facilities, it appears a final draft will be ready for public review following Commissioners' July 11th meeting. County Planner Mike Waltowitz says changes are being drafted to mitigate the impacts of odors and bright lights on neighboring property owners.
The board is contemplating allowing indoor in several zones, some of the larger lot size zones. There is some outdoor allowed, but it's fairly restrictive. There are significant buffers and zoning restrictions as well. And basically, a lot of the Tier 3s are not going to be allowed going forward. A lot of these rules are designed around the smaller grows, the Tier 1s and 2s.
The commissioners will make their final recommendations on July 11th with a tentative public hearing date set for August 1st. The Columbia River Harley Owners Group presented a significant donation to the Wellness Place yesterday.
I'd just like to say on behalf of the Run for the Border and our Director Mike and myself, I'm the treasurer and the chairman of the Run for the Border, we'd like to present you guys with a check for $5,000. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Well, thank you, first of all, for being here and for all of your support. And this is what it's all about in my eyes, the community and people like you taking time out of your busy life and just showing your support. So we're really grateful. Just today we had a woman who's at the end of her life, and she walked in here with her daughter, and she really wanted a wig. It's because of support such as yours that we found her the perfect wig. So she put it on and walked out of here with a smile on her face. And
no, you're sure
well, we couldn't have done it without the other members that helped us out.
We have all our committee, most everybody's here. Debbie, got the rocker, she's LOH, and Carl and Dan and Karen and all our other people that work.
And this little guy. Thank you.
Glad we can help.
Well, I'll shake your hand. I won't let her shake. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
So much. This goes a long way.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We're glad we could help out.
You're watching NCW Life Channel News. Coming up next, Gabe Mercer will have your sports update and our feature today on the oldest cherry tree in Chelan County.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life Community Calendar at ncwlife.com.
And now it's a sports update on the NCW Life Channel.
Happy Friday, I'm Gabe Mercer filling in for Eric Granstrom. Here's your sports update. The Stars were shining at Paul Thomas Senior Field last night as the Wenatchee Apple Sox defeated the Port Angeles Lefties 8-7 to complete a 3-game sweep. It was Chelan County PUD night at the ballpark, and they welcomed former Seattle Mariner second baseman Julio Cruz as a special guest. Crews also came early and helped out with the Wenatchee Apple Sox Summer Skills Camp for kids. Crews also joined Trevor Williams in the press box for some color commentary. Crews and Williams had a great game to call as Wenatchee erased a 7-4 deficit by scoring 2 runs in the 7th and 2 more runs in the 8th to go on for the victory. Apple Sox Dugan Shire's sacrifice fly scored Jordan Prentice to tie the game in the 8th, and Evan Johnson followed with an RBI double to score Jacob Prater for the game winner. Connor Liedholm worked a perfect 8th and 9th with no runs, no hits, and striking out 3 to earn the victory. Now 4 games over 500, the Apple Sox celebrate Independence Day early Saturday night with their annual fireworks night. It's a non-league game for the Wenatchee Apple Sox as they host the River City Athletics out of the Tri-Cities for the 7:05 game time. Also in West Coast League play last night, Victoria defeated Cowlitz 12-11. The Harbor Cats scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 9th to win. The teams combined for 36 hits. Walla Walla took down Gresham 9-6. Cameron Drury's had a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th. Yakima Valley took down Bend 10-5. Pippin's Bradley Beasley went 3 for 5 with a double and 3 RBIs. You can find the rest of the North Division standings on your screen. West Coast League interim president Tony Bonacci announced the hiring of longtime baseball executive Brian Sloan as the league's new president yesterday. Sloan assumes his president's duties effective immediately. Sloan is a baseball marketing specialist who has established and cultivated many high-profile community and advertising partnerships. As an executive with the Everett Aqua Sox, Sloan was honored in 2010 as the Northwest League's Executive of the Year. Prior to his time with the Aqua Sox, Sloan served as the general manager and assistant general manager for the Pittsburgh Pirates affiliates in Welland, Ontario and Erie, Pennsylvania. Now, here's what's on tap for this weekend. Northwest Premier Soccer League Women's Soccer takes center stage at the Apple Bowl Saturday night when the NCW Alliance FC hosts South Sound at 6 o'clock. The Alliance is 2-5-1 coming into this weekend's contest overall, and 0-4-1 in NWPL play. Wenatchee Valley Super Oval has a busy night of racing scheduled for Saturday up at Fancher Heights. The Pro Late models have their Firecracker 250. There's also racing for the CRL Legends, Street Stocks, Thunder Cars, and the FSCRA Pro 4 Alliance Challenge. And when it's all said and done, there will be a giant fireworks show. Gates open at 5, racing starts at 6. Looking ahead to Tuesday, the 7th annual River Run on the 4th will be held in conjunction with the Wenatchee Independence Day celebration. The 5K and 10K will start and finish at Pybus Public Market. The Seattle Mariners will try to bounce back from being swept at home in 2 games by Philadelphia tonight when they begin a weekend series at Anaheim against the Angels. After winning 6 straight, the Mariners have now lost 4 in a row. Ariel Miranda takes to the mound against Parker Bridwell. Miranda is 6-4 on the season with a 4.11 ERA. Bridwell is 2-0 with a 2.95 earned run average. In the American League West last night, Cleveland took down Texas 5-1. Houston defeated Oakland 6-1, and the Dodgers defeated the Angels 6-2. You can see the rest of the American League West standings on the screen. That's it for today's sports update. I'm Gabe Mercer. Have a great weekend.
Thank you much, Gabe. Now our feature for today, it's billed as the oldest cherry tree in Chelan County, and it's located in Wenatchee. And Dan Kuntz discovered it's still producing quality Bing cherries.
Benjamin Harrison was president. Washington State was 1 big fat year old when this behemoth was planted. Lonnie England is the owner of this oldest cherry tree in Wenatchee, north central Washington.
I believe in Chelan County from the Master Gardeners many years ago. I believe it is the oldest in Chelan County. Don't know about the state.
It could very well be one of the oldest in the state. It's a huge tree. What's the circumference of the trunk?
It was 9 feet 3 inches. We just measured.
And the
canopy? 42 feet.
Whew. Did you know, when you bought this house, did you know what you were buying when you bought this tree with it?
Actually, it's a long story. The information that I just stated, our best friends owned the house before us, and we bought it from them shortly after they got relocated to Maui. So this was kind of this was my wife and my second home. We were here a lot. I did a lot of work here helping them. So I've got a lot of history here.
And this tree has a lot of history. If this tree could talk.
Yes, really. It's actually in our deed relating to the tree since it was documented years ago. It's actually in our deed that we cannot, and it has to naturally die. And of course, we don't want that to happen.
How is the overall health of the tree, considering it's 120 some odd years old?
Very good, actually. We have a spray company to be legal and stuff here. He says it's one of the healthiest trees in the county. And when others are not producing cherries, this one always does.
How is the crop this year? When you and I first got here, the cherries look a tad small.
They are, and I've heard that from other people too. This year's crop is a little small this year. I thought it was because of my heavy pruning 2 years ago, and I gave it a break because we didn't want it to go into shock. But it's producing the cherries, but they are a little small on this half of the tree. The other half is pretty normal.
So the tree is older than the house?
Yes, the house was built in 1902. It was part of the Levitt family. They owned this all orchard all the way down to Lincoln Park and all the way up to the Levitt mine. And as their family grew, they homesteaded, and their old remnants of their home is across from Lincoln Park and the cherry orchard there. As their family grew, they built this, took out a few trees, but left this tree as their memory.
So do you feel a certain obligation to this tree? I mean, you're supposed to let it die a natural death, but you're going to do everything you can to keep it alive as long as possible.
Yes, we want it to stay alive. It provides wonderful shade for our backyard, and we love the fruit off of it. And so does many of our friends who come next weekend to start picking.
Can I grab a couple while we're here?
Yes, you may.
I'm going to. I love cherries. They don't love me. That's another story altogether.
Thank you, Dan and Lonnie. We'll be back in just a moment with a recap of today's stories and your weather forecast for North Central Washington.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
Welcome back. It appears a partial government shutdown may be averted as lawmakers are poised to vote on a new 2-year state budget. Today's the deadline, but there remains disagreement on some of the fine points. NCW Life Channel Steve Hare spoke with House Representatives Kerry Kendata and Mike Steele, learning that a vote is expected today on a proposed budget. Kendata said he feels confident they will pass a budget, but he has concerns on overall spending levels. For more on the status, head to our website at ncwlife.com. Now with a check of our forecast for the weekend and beyond, here's Dan Coons.
We are still in the early stages of what looks to be an extended period of dry and warm weather as we welcome July come tomorrow. A strong ridge of high pressure continues to build over the region, and that ridge will deflect any approaching systems away from the area. A weak cold front will skirt just to the north of the valley on Saturday afternoon and evening. That'll increase the wind speed on Saturday night before calm winds return on Sunday. Tonight it'll be mostly clear, and a low of 65 is expected. Saturday will be bathed in sunshine, the high tomorrow of 90, slightly cooler than what we had today. Saturday night, we're keeping a close eye on the wind. Wind will be out of the west, 13 to 17 miles an hour with gusts near 30. Saturday night's overnight low of 63. Then it's right back to calm winds, very little wind at all on Sunday. And for all of next week, in fact, highs will gradually climb from the lower 90s to near 100 by Friday of next week. And that's your forecast on the NCW Life Channel.
Thank you for the latest on that, Dan. Don't forget, Dan will be on top of the Town Toyota Center on Tuesday for our broadcast of the Independence Day celebration from across the way at Walla Walla Point Park. We'll have that for you coming up 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, July 4th, right here on the NCW Life channel. Also, just a quick note, we got an email or a message on Facebook from Tracy Dwyer. She was asking about how people can donate water or food to the firefighters. I asked the PIO about that here the other day, and she said actually they don't accept any donations like that. She says instead what you can do as a homeowner and a resident of North Central Washington is prepare your own home for fire safety and make sure you have a defensible space. That's going to do it for our newscast tonight. For more on these stories and others, head to our website or check us out on Facebook. Our website is ncwlife.com. Remember, if you see news happening, we'd like to hear from you. You can send us an email at news@ncwlife.com. I'm Eric Granstrom. Have a good night.
This has been NCW Life News on the NCW Life channel. For more news, log on to ncwlife.com. Like us on Facebook and follow NCW Life channel on Twitter.